Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Late Night Paranormal. Today we are going to be taking a look at a very interesting creature from European folklore, the infamous and captivating werewolf. As I am sure that you already know, a werewolf is a man or woman that has the ability to transform themselves into a half-man, half-wolf creature of a monstrous visage. The werewolf will transform into this terrifying form either by choice, by the way of a ritual, allowing them to transform at will, or they will be burdened with this by way of a curse, causing them to transform every full moon. Werewolves are often claimed to possess superhuman senses and strength, far beyond that of any individual wolf or human. The werewolf is primarily a character of European folklore, however. There are some tales from other areas of the earth that bear many similarities to the classic European werewolf archetype. Most notably, there are similar legends that were once whispered between the Native Americans. Although admittedly, these tales usually involve creatures of a decidedly non-wolf variety. If you want to learn more about the Native American tales of shapeshifters, I already have a video on this subject. The link will be in the description. Anyways, back to the main topic of European werewolves. The legend of the werewolf can be traced all the way back to the Proto-Indo-European mythology. Isn't that amazing? This is a legend that stretches back all the way to prehistory. Modern historians believe that this was not a literal werewolf transformation, of course, but rather it was an aspect of the initiation of the warrior class, with these men fighting as ferociously as a pack of bloodthirsty wolves. The concept of the werewolf in Western and Northern Europe is strongly influenced by the role of the wolf and the warrior and their connection in Germanic paganism. However, there are related traditions in other parts of Europe which were not necessarily influenced by Germanic tradition, especially in Slavic Europe and the Balkans, and possibly in areas bordering the Indo-European sphere, such as the Caucasus, or in places where Indo-European cultures have been replaced by military conquest in the medieval era, such as Hungary and the Middle East. Moving forward in time to classical antiquity, we have tales of men transforming into wolves found in ancient Greek literature. For example, Herodotus, in his histories, wrote that the Nuri, a tribe he places to the northeast of Scythia, were all transformed into wolves once every year for several days, and then eventually would change back into their human shape. The legend of the werewolf started to gain much more popularity during the Middle Ages. There was no widespread belief in werewolves in medieval Europe before the 14th century, other than the previously mentioned Germanic wolf warriors. The Germanic pagan traditions associated with wolfmen persisted longest during the Scandinavian Viking Age. Harald I of Norway, or Harald I, is known to have possessed an army of berserkers that clad themselves in the furs of the Eurasian wolves that were endemic to the region. These warriors were resistant to pain and fought viciously in battle, much like the wolves that they thought to emulate. These warriors were also closely associated with the Norse god Odin, who we will talk about more in the near future. It is highly likely that these traditions and myths spread to the Slavic peoples of the Kievan Rus, as the Scandinavian Vikings did rule over these people for a period of time. The dual purposes that each possess, these dual peoples each possess their own werewolf tales, and this is most likely where we receive the somewhat dual backgrounds for the various tales of how werewolves came to be. On the one hand, we have the Germanic pagan werewolf tales that eventually came to be associated with witchcraft and curses after the Christianization of Europe. And on the other, we have the Slavic werewolf tales that claim that the werewolf is an undead creature similar to a vampire. These Slavic tales are also where we get the belief that you can be turned into a werewolf if you are unlucky enough to be bitten by one. In the same vein, in some rural areas of Germany, Poland and northern France. It was once believed that people who died in mortal sin came back to life as blood-drinking wolves. These undead werewolves would return to their human corpse form at daylight. They were dealt with by decapitation with a spade and exorcism by the parish priest. The head would then be thrown into a stream where the weight of its sins was thought to weigh it down. Sometimes the same methods were used to dispose of ordinary vampires would be used. The vampire was also linked to the werewolf in East European countries, particularly Bulgaria, Serbia, and Slovenia. In Serbia, the werewolf and vampire are known collectively as Vulko and are oftentimes considered to be the same creature. Moving on to the High Middle Ages and the early colonial era, werewolvery was a common accusation in witch trials throughout their history. The peak of attention to lycanthropy came in the late 16th to early 17th century as part of the European witch hunts. A number of treatises on werewolves were written in France during this time. Werewolves were cited in Anjou, and a supposed teenage werewolf was sentenced to life imprisonment in Bordeaux. In some of these cases, there was clear evidence against the accused of murder and cannibalism, but as far as I know, there has never been any evidence of the accused's supposed association with wolves. Additionally, common Turkic folklore holds a different reverential light to the werewolf legends, in that Turkic Central Asian shamans, after performing long and arduous rites, would voluntarily be able to transform into the humanoid Kurtadam, literally meaning wolfman, since the wolf was the totemic ancestor animal of the Turkic peoples. This was considered to be a highly honorable action for the shaman to undertake, and the Turkic peoples would be highly respectful of any shaman who was in such a form. Alright, I hope you enjoyed hearing about the werewolf tonight on Late Night Paranormal. If you're interested in learning more, please let me know. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos. Have a good night.